Hey there guys, today we're taking a look at the new release of the Menards Santa Fe F-Unit. This was a bit of a surprise release, but Menards has proven for the budget price point they can bring a lot to the table. Now, being a first draft locomotive, there's going to be some tweaks, there's going to be some errors, which are a little more apparent than none, but you know, for a first time locomotive, this is a pretty awesome effort. So the packaging. This is how it comes. Menards is very plain Jane, and it helps being a hardware manufacturer. So their packaging with trains is probably going to evolve as it goes, but they've done a great job on all their rolling stock, buildings, etc. So I don't foresee that stopping with the locomotive. Now, what all does this thing feature out of the box? This thing can run on 031 curves. It can handle pretty much any O-gauge train car you put behind it. It comes with a basic diesel sound, horn, bell, and a very nice variety of crew talk that's actually believable. But enough yapping about the packaging design, so here's all you get. You get the F-unit and the remote without 3 AAA batteries, which I have already installed. And we're just going to prop the packaging up back behind it. So first things first, we're going to cover the remote real quick because this is neat. It's very much so similar to Line Chief, but to me it's a little more intuitive on a few fronts. Okay, so here's a look at the remote, and yes, this is a Diet Line Chief. One thing I will say, this is similar to Line Chief in the regard of this remote controls this locomotive. I don't believe there's any cross compatibility yet, but minus that, the button arrangement's a little backwards, so if you're used to your horn and bell on Line Chief, it's different. Your horn's right here, your crew talk's there, and your bell is on the right. Two things I really like over Line Chief, you get a little bit of a notch in the speed dial, so you can hear it creaking a little bit there. I like that because it's tactile, you got a sense of where you're at in the direction dial, and you get a nice little volume knob right here on the side. So you can control your volumes on the fly instead of going through an app or programming. I like the nice, direct, quick and easy volume adjustment. But enough on the remote. Let's get to the F-unit. Now this is not exactly a complete brick of a locomotive. I believe I read the specs. It's about 2.5 pounds. This is a starter set basic locomotive that'll be more than happy towing a light string of cars or the Menards cars. The biggest thing that jumps out immediately about this engine, this is a pretty nice little fit and finish. Of course, the glossy underbody is going to be a little bit of a crowd hit and miss. You're either going to like it or you're not, especially when you look at it from the head end. I mean, I kind of like it being shiny Santa Fe, but if they'd have gone and paint matched it, been a lot better. But yeah, the entire assembly from the coupler, front to rear, your underbody, your trucks, are all finished in this shiny plastic finish. Get a nice gloss and glint off the kitchen lighting. We'll flip it over real quick because I know everyone wants to see this thing run. Here's what you get on the underbody. So you get 2 traction tires up front, nice fat pickup roller, second powered axle, speakers right here, your engine sounds on and off are right here, and that is pretty much it. It's a very basic train set locomotive. But Menards has done a very nice one for the package. So let's get over to the detail real quick and then we'll jump into some running. So best I can tell, this is a complete Menards design. I don't know of anybody, minus maybe AMT or Kusan back in the day with their F-units. That might be the closest thing I could think of to this, but in terms of on the market right now, this Menards design is one of its own. So a nice thing, we'll start up on the head end. You get a nice bright LED headlight, LED number boards, which are a little funky colored, but they do the job well. You get 2 crew figures inside the cab. Kind of a pseudo GMD builder's plate is there. It looks really good. The Santa Fe crest on the nose looks awesome. Going on down, the font's a little different on the car body, but it still looks really clean. One cool thing, it does come with a rear light, and it's actually a lot brighter on track, but it is right in there. So, not a bad attempt for a first degree F-unit. Alright, so to wrap things, we'll just do one last pan of the side, and that does it. Overall, this is a nice little locomotive for the price point. I know I keep going on about that, but for what Menards has done, for how they've advertised this, there's a lot of room for some cool stuff to happen, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they pull out. So the only problems, again, with this being our first time locomotive effort, there is some imperfections. As you can see here up on the top, I think this is due to packaging and just getting bonked around during shipping. There are some scuffs and a few imperfections. Now I'm going to try to go over it with a paper towel and see what I can get off, if it's just grease. But in the event it's a scratch, well, it is what it is. So I think going forward, Menards will probably adjust their packaging a little bit stronger than how they would do on their freight cars or buildings, because a little bit more liability with the locomotive here. Okay, so with the locomotive on the track, we're going to jump right into operations and a sound test. Now the sound test is very basic, so you'll see it in just a second, but here's what the locomotive looks like at rest. They use two orange/red LEDs for the number boards, which don't look bad far enough back, but up close, yeah, they're a little skunky, especially when it's kind of looking like red marker lights poking out of there. The front headlight is stupid bright. And yeah, that is speed step basically 1. This thing is quick. But operation is very, very smooth. That's another thing too, when you put the brakes on, I don't think there's any flywheels on these motors, so you're literally going from 100 to 0 just like that. Okay, so we'll do a sound and volume test. I've got the locomotive here under track power. Let's kick the volume up on the remote. There's your prime mover. We'll give it a quick buzz. Go. Let's do some crew talk.
The air brake test was good, so let's get ready to move.
Roger that. We are ready to roll.
Then let's go. Dispatcher, 3945 East is ready to proceed.
3945 East, confirm you're ready. Aligning switches to track 1. Have a good trip.
So that's one thing about this locomotive right now. That horn tap is literally regardless of how long you hold it. So if you do want a longer horn blast, there you go. But the nice thing is about the crew talk, there's 25 individual pieces of dialogue. That's a lot better than Lionel right now, and this is actually legible, it's road number specific, and it sounds nice.
Dispatch, I see the signal has gone from red to green. We are moving.
Check. The signal is green.
So yeah, that's a little bit of a slip on the throttle, but it will jump around just like that. So I'm going to turn the engine over and shut the... Actually, I'm just going to turn the volume down on this. This is much appreciated for filmers, by the way, because I can adjust the volume and not have to worry about switching the locomotive off or turning it over. Alright, so before I wrap this thing up, we're going to throw some Lionel coaches behind it, just so you can see how she does with her load. And I'm going to give a few closing thoughts before I tie this video up. So, the price point on this locomotive, this is where it gets crazy. The engine before shipping was $146. Now, this was a bit of a test for Menards, so whether they boost this up a little bit or keep it as is, that's up to them. But I ended up paying shipped $170. For an O-gauge locomotive with remote control that's actually nice, you're not a basic bottom-of-the-barrel line chief, this is nice. This is a nice little model. I could see this being an excellent, display locomotive for a club, public layout, etc., or even just run around the tree at the house or on your own layout. This is not a bad effort. Now, of course, there will need to be some quality adjustments, like this light bleed on the number board that we're staring at. Change the color on that, change the light spread, maybe add some flywheels to the motor so it's not just a jackrabbit off the first speed step. But this is a very nice diesel for the money. Now, this is comparable for what you'll have to fork out for a Line Chief 2.0 or a very basic Line Chief locomotive. I think this is an excellent step in the right direction. and it runs pretty darn good out of the box. So Menards has done a nice job, I think, on their first piece. In their video, there was a bit of a Jeep teased in the background, so I'm hoping we'll see a few Jeeps appear in the lineup. But I think this is a nice step. There were only 200 of these made in the very first run, so finding these is going to be nigh impossible unless you find one on eBay or someone happens to be selling. But yeah, the 200 made in the first run. They're doing this kind of as a big beta test, so they're gathering information, of course, from reviewers, people who bought these locomotives in time, etc. So I think we'll see a lot of improvements across the board with these. It's great to see Menards finally produce a locomotive, and I'm very curious to see what else they bring to the table, because some of their semi-scale O-gauge flat cars are second to none in detail and value. I wish they would get into HO, produce some wood deck flat cars, a few simple pieces, but that's just me being a little wishful. But I thank you guys again for watching. I hope this is informative, and if you wanted to see this locomotive or had no idea it existed, here you go. So to close out the video, I'm going to set some Lionel coaches behind it, and we're going to give it a few hot laps. So I'll see you guys next time.
Moving from track 5 to track 1. Track 1 lap is green.
.45 east, you are clear of the yard, and you have the main track to mile marker 243.